NTA. You can't beat the reach.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello, you're welcome. This is Moment for Thought. I am Aliyu Baba Barrow. Today, the discussion is going to be on the giant in the sun, that is Nigeria. Its pattern of development in today's context as far as the global community is concerned. And they say it against the backdrop of even the role of the media, which is a platform for social change. The challenges of Nigeria's development today and the role of the fourth estate. How do we focus on them? How do they function today as partners in progress and of course in absorbing all the challenges, attendant challenges of nationhood? I have distinguished Nigerians who will say it all in the studio to discuss this very important issue. I have Malam Garba Shehu, Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, a journalist through and through, a one-time President of Nigeria, the Guild of Editors. He's a former Managing Director of the Triumph newspapers, Kano. And we have a professor, and talking about the media and development. He was equally, although they say once a journalist, always one, as a professor in mass communication, he's a journalist through and through. He was at one time with the Guardian newspapers. He's a Professor Abiodun Adini, head of mass communication department based university. You both welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Let's take a look at Nigeria, the dynamics of development. The giant in the sun has come a long way, right from independence to date. Even the fight for independence, where the earlier journalists or the fathers of journalism in this country, most of them, they used the media to fight for Nigeria's independence before beside the political clamor that came with it. Do you see the media, Malam Garba Shehu, today? Because I always say, I would love to have your job, but that is if there's any perquisite today. But I don't envy you. Managing the apex, state of government, that is Mr. President, and the government itself, the federal executives and what have you. But how do you compare when you started as a journalist and today? Now do we say you are at the receiving end today?
Certainly the shoe is in the other foot.
Oh, yes.
Journalists criticize people all the time.
All the time, yes.
So sometimes you get to be in a place where you yourself you are being criticized. And for some of us who understand that this is the rule of the game,
Yes.
you have to take it. But you see people who have been journalists, who have attacked and criticized other people all their life,
Yes.
and they don't tolerate criticism. So that is the horrible aspect of it. But if you criticize others, you must be prepared also to take criticism.
Yes.
Especially if you are working for someone I do now, like the one I do for President of Nigeria. And the president must be criticized because we must be criticized because we are the government. And if we are not the government, they will move on to other people. And criticism will shift elsewhere. So we have to learn to live with it. But the media have come a long way. You've started by saying it yourself, that actually the early nationalists, all of them were journalists. And they used the platform of journalism for the propagation of nationalist ideals.
Yes.
And transformed from journalists to authors and writers, and public speakers and leaders of political parties and leaders of the nation. From then to now, a lot has changed.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, the media, as we speak, they are in a rapid transition now, because there is a massive restructuring, if you like the word, and the influence, which is all that the media have anyway. They don't have power, but the influence is gradually moving from established institutions and the mainstream mass media, newspapers, radio, TV, which have dominated the space for all the time we know.
Yes.
To a new world in which everyone with a handheld telephone can pretend that he or she is a journalist. In fact, they can broadcast, using WhatsApp, you can broadcast news or messaging to thousands of people or to millions of people because of the multiplier effect. And the danger we live with is that the jurisprudence, media jurisprudence, has been slow in catching up with the rapidity and the speed with which this new communication system is evolving.
Yes.
So governments, leaders, community, people in public space, in a number and most nations of the world, they're helpless. You see breaches, you see attacks. Good name built over years with one post is sent down crashing, and they're helpless. So everyone is doing a catch up now, trying to see whether they can, arrest the ongoing situation. And for the most part, we in countries that are evolving, developing ones, have been on the receiving end for so long a time.
Yes.
And the European world, America, they have watched unsympathetically. And for commercial reasons, because they are whether Silicon Valley or whatever, they are the beneficiaries of the new communications system in the world. And so long as the profits keep coming,
Yes.
keep reaching to the world, don't you raise your hand. Just take it as it is. That's where we are today.
That's incredible. Well, from the academic point of view and as a practicing journalist over the years, how has it been? How do you see this aspect that Madam Garwashiwa has brought up?
Yeah, very fundamental aspect, no doubt. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that systems and societies progress through institutions.
Yes.
And those institutions evolve over the years, coming in phases. And of course, we can talk about changes in technologies, technologies of living, and now we're witnessing technology of communication. let's not forget that in the early stages in Europe, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution that replaced, manual labor, with manual labor, machine replaced manual labor, and there was development until it started spreading to all other parts of the world, So development is a continuous thing, it is processual, and it happens through the pedestals of institutions. The media is a critical institution, it will remain so most of the time. Even though there are downsides, we are witnessing revolution in communications now, like Malam alluded to very brilliantly. The revolution will continue. Now, we have downsides. The revolution has come up with its own downsides, which is our ability to control it, because development is rather much more frenetic than our ability to control it. But we have to also acknowledge the fact that there's no development, no innovation that has come that didn't come with its own downside. Even when aeroplane came, we celebrated it. After the Wright brothers' effort, efforts have been made over the years to perfect the aeroplane technology, but we're still witnessing crashes. The motor car, when it came, of course, we celebrated it, but there are still crashes. So there's no one invention. Imagine the dynamite, for instance. When it came, it was supposed to be for construction, but now it led to destruction through wars and other kinds of things. So there's revolution in communication, though, that we're enjoying it in some circles, but of course the downside is also a distraction. But we shouldn't allow the downsides, to overwhelm us, with respect to, how we want to imagine things. It's brought about some levels of liberalization, empowered people, raised people's self-esteem, created some levels, higher levels of inclusion. People who felt marginalized before now, are feeling a sense of integration, some kind of sense that they probably didn't feel before. So somehow their sense of citizenry, has been enhanced. I acknowledge that there are downsides, but what we need to do as a system, as a society, like societies are also trying to do, is to ramp up our ability to deal with it, to control it, and how do we control it? I've always made the argument that there's no difference between online and offline in terms of the application of law. Over time, we've always had media laws, regulatory bodies. Are we really activating those laws? We've always had laws of libel, laws of slander. Of course, sedition, we may say is outdated, but it's still in existence in any case. Yes, at the international global space, we acknowledge that some of these technologies are planetary, so you find it very difficult to control them, because of the crisis of jurisprudence. Jurisprudence differ. What is free in America is probably not free here. What is free in Qatar is probably not free here. So, and somebody can stay from in a distance and be hitting at us here.
Yes.
We acknowledge that. But again, it's just letting us know that the world is becoming much more open, much more open. Whatever we do, transparency and accountability should be at the back of our mind. Because, like one African proverb says, if you do not want people to know what you're doing, don't just do that thing. Because the walls also have ears. So it's being reflected in the technology that is completely upon us and in how we're able to use that technology. Because the technologies of communication, I beg your pardon, have now been pluralized, decentered, no longer a concentration in the hands of the privilege or in the hands of a few. But how do we manage it? We have been able to, we are still continuing to manage the aircraft technology. We are managing the car, the motor car. We are managing all of that technologies around us, all of that innovations. We are still managing them. The challenge is also to manage technologies of communication, irrespective of the downside. We know that there are some closet nymphomaniacs, perverts, who sit in quiet places and cause damages. Those damages are unacceptable, but again, it's still a challenge for us to see how we can deal with it.
Yeah, seeing how we can deal with it, I think it's a two-way system. What I mean by that is managing information itself, that is the media, and managing the social system, the society, the receptivity of the people. They are now used with the deregulation of the industry. In the past, it was the conventional, just as you said earlier, Malangar Bashir said, media organizations. Managing information, that is management of information itself. In the murky waters of politics, let me put it that way, Some criticize the media as being highly political. Within the Nigerian context, too much regionalism, so to speak, in quote. And, these figure worshipping. How will you assess Nigeria with its peculiar setting in those contexts?
Let me say that, first of all, I would agree with the Prof on his assessment on the situation and his welcoming, attitude to the new technologies. Certainly, it is not anyone's idea that this revolution should be arrested. No, even if you wish, you can't do it, because the new systems have given power back to the people.
Yes.
Because with the handheld telephone, they can check fraud, policeman on the road trying to distort the facts of a traffic accident. Somebody can, it happened when the British Parliament was bombed by terrorists. More than 60% of UK citizens, they got their information, news of that incident through the social media, handheld telephone systems. So therefore, is in a way also is an audit of the conventional media. We are being television, radio, and who have dominated the space. They're also being called in check, because the journalist then out there who is doing live reporting cannot now say things that do not accord to the truth, because he doesn't even know how many people are holding their telephone and recording their incidents.
Yes.
Problem is that and these things are now becoming manifest. Considering recent incidents involving Facebook, for instance, where they were interrogated by the American Congress, the British Parliament, Europeans had done this for some time now. You have seen a number of times when they had called the technology companies, and they have fined them heavily, and they are stoppable.
Yes.
But they were never stopped. People are now increasingly becoming concerned about harm to children, to family, women, minority groups in societies. We just mentioned all of that for our own country, especially in a country with I don't know how many ethnic groups people talk about, up to 500 language groups. I know diversity in religion, and ordinarily this should be a source of strength.
Yes.
And I have never disagreed with the media in mirroring, unique identities of people, because people should talk and present their own points of view. People in Calabar, their cultural identity and their points of view would not be the same as you have Sokoto people and Niger. So we all bring all of these identities and then to the center, and everybody will come and see and understand and appreciate winning another. But you have problem where the media are used for entrenching terrorism, for instance, in a country, or things that we thought we had defeated in the past. Tribalism. People thought by 60s Nigerians had gone over. It's now back all over again. And not to talk of extremism. These terrorists and so on, we're just stopping telephone now. The new technologies in order to defeat bandits and terrorism in the country.
Yes.
So that's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
The society and the media.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with him once more. It's a world of tension, really. There's always complexity in every system, and that's why we say there are two elements to it. The human management element, and the one that is probably how do I put it now? The inanimate one, the physical, realistic one. You know, the instruments are around us. You know, but the human element is then is this: how do we apply those instruments? You know, section of human being we want to apply it well. Some of that section we want to pervert the process. Okay, so but how do we bring about how do we ensure that we overwhelm those who want to pervert that process? That's the challenge that I think we have. Yes. But dealing with it then also comes with the application of the law. You know, now we are trying to bring about security. They were fighting against insecurity in the physical sense. But there's also insecurity in the virtual space, which you also have to fight. So because we live in a world of, we now live online, and we also live offline.
Yes.
Okay, we're in a world of data sciences, a world of hypertext document. You know, we are proceeding into the Internet of Things. So when we're thinking of security in the physical space, we should also think about it in the virtual space. You know, but if we undermine it, of course we know how, because there's a dialectical relationship between the two. We can't imagine how the damage they can do, you know, not just in the virtual space, but also coming from the virtual space to harm us in the physical space. And that's what we're probably seeing, which Malam alluded to.
Yes.
You know, so again, let's ramp up security, not just in the world that you and I live in, seeing ourselves now. Look at what happened last year, you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Practically sections of the world, you know, of our activities were conducted online, you know, in the virtual space. Even federal executive meetings was being held online until recently, before we start coming out of it. You know, so that world is becoming significant to us. Educational institutions move their activities online. That world is becoming very, very significant. Countries of the West are investing billions, you know, so much money to control, to work in that section in terms of, to secure that space. We shouldn't be left out, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. Yeah, thank you, Professor Abiodun Adeni. Thank you for coming. How's the university? I didn't ask you. How's lecturing now? As against writing, yes.
Well, we're still writing anyway.
Malangatushu, thank you very much. You will oblige us so that we will continue continue with this.
You are welcome.
Yes, against
the time is there. Why not?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you've heard it all, and talking about the media as a platform for social change, and again, participation means very, very a kind of giving everybody a stakeholdership in the project called Nigeria. Thank you for watching. We'll continue with this discussion the following week. Thank you.